Madeleine Albright passed away when former government official, and she was well known, and was she a former Secretary of State, right?
First woman Secretary
yes.
of State.
That's right.
And she was, I believe, a refugee herself,
Yep.
right? Matt, you've retweeted something like amazing fire tweet. Then she created a bunch of refugees.
The law boy said that she experienced the full breadth of the human experience from being a refugee herself to creating a bunch of them.
Yeah. Important
for people to see things like that. I don't even know if this is the worst thing that she ever said publicly, frankly.
This isn't the it was worth it to starve Iraqis.
Right. This is there was
but
one
it's
point
a partner piece.
Yes. At one point she was asked about the embargoes under the Clinton administration of Iraq, and she said it was worth it to
500 million or 500,000 kids
to those kids die of starvation. Here she is. Well, here I'll let
a college student on the campus asks her this question. Her answer
is just a great question.
Changed my mind.
This is the college campuses, baby.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about dictators of countries like Indonesia, who we sell weapons to, yet they are slaughtering people in East Timor? What do you have to say about Israel, who is slaughtering Palestinians, who impose martial law? What do you have to say about that? Those are our allies. Why do we sell weapons to these countries? Why do we support them? Why do we bomb Iraq when it commits similar problems?
Listen to those cheers.
There are various examples of things that are not right in this world, and the United States is trying. I really am surprised that people feel that it is necessary to defend the rights of Saddam Hussein, when what we ought to be thinking about is how to make sure that he does not use weapons of mass destruction.
I'd like to.
Who are shouting? Just a moment.
I'm not defending them in the least. What I am saying is that there needs to be consistent application of U.S. foreign policy. We cannot support people who are committing the same violations because they are political allies. That is not acceptable. We cannot violate UN resolutions when it is convenient to us. You're not answering my question, Madam Albright.
And this is in 98. That dynamic following 2001 changed dramatically, where if that kid had asked that question of someone like Madeleine Albright in 2002, the booing and cheering and would have been towards that guy. And she would have opened her mouth and they would have been applauding. But it's important to get the people understand, the mentality of these people that we now see the mainstream media, the corporate media, the sort of praise simply because they were there.
Yeah. By the way, that was John Strange. He's a public defender in Pennsylvania now. So just a great example of, it's funny, like the perception, like everything's new in the left and happened like post Bernie. And it's interesting to know like that how long this stuff has existed, but just unable to be elaborated in media. And occasionally like filter out at a
and also
town hall like this.
Why people are you mentioned Crowder for a second, why there's this fear of this kind of sentiment growing and percolating on college campuses because this is when young people are getting are starting to think critically about the world, and these ideas can spread and it threatens people in power. And so Madeleine Albright and the George H.W. Bush administration before her, they deserve a lot of condemnation for setting the table for the destruction and devastation that we saw in Iraq during the war. It didn't just happen starting in the early 2000s. It started before that, obviously.
The difference, of course, is that I think in many respects, colleges were that much more important for this type of stuff, or the existence of colleges were almost like not the sole, but one of the primary vehicles for these ideas to spread, because you had people who were in close quarters and had the ability to sort of communicate put up a couple of flyers on a college campus, you're going to get a lot more attention than if I put it in downtown, whatever it is, Boston or something. And
before the internet.
That's my point.
Okay,
there was no internet. No, but that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Like the internet in some ways has diminished the weight that needed to be placed on college networking to get these but that was on CNN once. I can assure you it was never played again. Somebody had a recording of it and they ended up putting it on YouTube, but YouTube didn't even exist until 2004, 2005. And so there was no way to sort of communicate to people to get people to be outraged at something like that. And that has been a big change. And it's going to be much harder in the future to sort of bury these figures, these former heads of state, more or less, and have their records whitewashed. It's
fascinating though, because that's exactly what I CNN's always on in my laundry room, right? So I heard Bill Clinton call in to talk about Madeleine Albright, and I was folding my clothes and listening to this, and I mean, it's just relentless propaganda, and it is such a contrast to the way we do our show, but also what you just see online, and the media apparatuses that don't want that want to engage in hagiography, they look more and more like dinosaurs every day compared to the breadth of information that you can find on the internet that contradicts that kind of stuff.
Honestly, back at that in that era, the only time that you would get any type of a pushback, was a Democracy Now! When they sort of
Amy Goodman, I think, asked Madeleine Albright a really tough question in a similar vein I saw somewhere in another.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. Yeah. And she had Clinton on, and he was enraged after he got up after that, because he thought that nobody asked me those type of questions. And that's the way it was back then. There was no questioning any of that.